What are we here today? Yep, we're going to make our own rum.
A bit early.
Oh, that's alright, coming up it's just you today.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. We can get started now if you
Oh,
want.
that's brilliant, yeah. Thank you.
Into the Rum Bus.
Roll it up. Right.
Video then on
So I have set the still here up for you. So you're welcome to both sit that side if you want, or you can sit either side. Whatever you want to do, basically. The bus is yours this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you could sit down there if you want, but it wouldn't be much use because the still's here.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yes, come and make yourselves comfortable.
Come on then.
My name is Chris. I've been distilling rum for about 11 years now, and doing classes like this for around 5 as well. So I have a guarantee to everyone that comes through these classes that you will make something that tastes good. I'll stake my reputation as a distiller on it. I'll also check your recipe at least twice before it gets anywhere near the still, just to make sure that what you're putting in there is going to work. Basically, nobody needs 10 times as much star anise in there as you need it. You know, that kind of ruins it a little bit. So we'll sort of go through a process of sort of designing a recipe, and you've got a field notes book there, which is really useful. It's got lots of information on the ingredients and also suggested quantities to put in there as well. So there's no sort of just plucking a number out of the air and hoping for the best. So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about rum, sort of mainly how we go from the very beginning of the process to sort of where we are now with a base rum in the still, ready to redistill with the addition of various sort of spices and fruits and other flavourings as well. And then what we'll do, I'll explain how the still actually works, sort of a bit of the process of what we're going to do this afternoon. And then we'll go through the field notes book and just sort of give you some ideas of what you can put in your recipe and sort of some good combinations and a few sort of tips and hints as well. And then it's going to be very much over to you guys to start picking some ingredients. So you can use the descriptions in the booklet, you can use your noses and your sense of taste as well if you want. We've got lots of jars next to you there, so feel free to open those up, have a smell, have a taste of some of them. There's definitely a few there that I would not taste in their sort of current form, so if you're not sure, do ask. Nobody needs a teaspoon of nutmeg this time of the afternoon, really. So yeah. Some of them are pretty obvious, but yeah, if you're not sure, just do ask. Yeah, and then we'll sort of get your recipe together, we'll get it in the still, and then we'll get distilling. And while that's happening, we can design a label to go on your bottle as well. So you can fully personalise that with your own images if you want as well, and obviously a name for your rum as well. So if you haven't got one yet, get thinking.
Right.
And I want to say a good rum name today as well. Yeah, then it's just a case of a bit of blending and bottling and labelling, and then you have the option to add either some distiller's caramel, so you can turn your rum gold or amber or dark today.
The dark's my favourite.
Dark, excellent. So I've also got wood chips as well from cherry barrels, which we can put in the bottle and mimic cask aging. But rather than 2 years, it takes 2 weeks, which is, you don't need quite the patience for it, but it will give you that lovely sort of deep colour to it as well, but you'll get a slight sort of development and maturation of the flavour as well, which is always nice. Or you can leave with it clear, if you like.
Do you know, I wish I'd brought the tripod.
Right, so do you know what sort of rum starts life as? What sort of raw materials are?
I have actually been to the, what was it called?
No, I don't know.
It's a distillery in Jamaica, and I can't think what it's called now.
So you've got Appleton.
Appleton's estate. I came back with a white, a tawny, and a dark.
Excellent. I do like a good Jamaican rum. They have some of the strictest rules and regulations in rum, so you know you're getting a really good rum from them. But yeah, so it starts off as sugar cane, and most rum is made from molasses, which is a byproduct of refining that sugar cane. So when you take raw sugar cane and press it to extract the juice, that is then heated and centrifuged several times, which produces solid crystals which become granulated sugar. Everything that's left behind is molasses, basically. So it's quite a sort of sticky, sort of treacly sort of thing. Yeah. I've got some in a jar here if you want to have a smell of that one. It's used in baking quite a lot. It's added into sort of horse feed,
really
cattle feed, that sort of thing. There's lots of minerals in there which is really beneficial for horses and cattle. In the early days of the sugar industry, it would have just been thrown away. It was considered a waste product. then it was sort of fed to livestock, and then someone quite accidentally discovered that it fermented and produced alcohol. As most of these
Weren't
things
we lucky?
Exactly, yeah. Most of these things in history do come about by accident, sort of like wine being discovered in, I think either ancient Greece or Rome, I can never remember, but someone just left it out a bit long, left the grapes out a bit long, and they started to ferment with wild yeast in the environment. And then they tasted it and found that it made them feel good.
To be honest, I first found fermentation when I was about 9, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I used to have a little post office, like a mailbox savings box, like a piggy bank, and decided that living in the countryside, I'd go and scrump some rhubarb. So we scrumped the rhubarb, put it in this little box, and put it in the tent in the garden with sugar in it. And that's what I discovered about a week later. And I thought, well, that's nice and syrupy and it's quite strong now. And honestly, my dad found myself and my brother pissed.
Really?
His farts in the tent.
Yeah, it's, yeast is sort of naturally occurring everywhere around us, so things like that will happen. These days, obviously, we use a very cultivated yeast for the best results and the best flavours and that sort of thing. That process normally takes sort of anywhere between 4 days and 2 weeks. So if you're in the Caribbean, it's more like 4 days, because that's a very sort of conducive environment to fermentation. If you're somewhere a little bit cooler, say up in Scotland, it will take a little bit longer, towards 2 weeks. But that produces a wash, or very similar to what you have with your rhubarb. So it's not the strongest, 5% ABV or so, something like that.
It was enough.
Yeah, well, yeah. So if you're 9 years old,
yeah, that's right.
But this wash doesn't taste amazing at this point. Bit of a bitter tomato sort of edge to it, which is not the nicest. So to get it sort of more into what we know as a rum, we need to distill that wash, and we're going to distill it twice. So the first distillation, we're just concerned with sort of concentrating all that alcohol in there, making it much stronger. So we can get it up to about 60% ABV after that first distillation. There is still quite an unpleasant taste to it at this point. Baby sick is a sort of common descriptor for it. It's quite sort of dairy and acidic sort of elements to it, which are really unpleasant. And that's down to a couple of unpleasant tasting alcohol compounds in there. Acetone, isoacetate as well. Now, thankfully, these are quite easy to remove. So in the second distillation, we separate the liquid into 3 parts called heads, hearts and tails. All those sort of unpleasant flavours are in the head section. So by keeping that separate, we remove them from our final product. So we can also remove things like methanol by keeping the head separate as well. Methanol is not very good for you, to put it lightly. So we want to make sure that that's sort of kept to a minimum throughout the distillation. There will always be trace elements of methanol in any distilled product. But there's more in a glass of apple juice, really. So it's nothing to sort of be concerned about. Once we've sort of separated out the heads, we move into the hearts section, which is going to be the bulk of what comes out of the larger stills. And that's coming through at about 95% ABV. And our alcohol compound is now ethanol, which is our nice consumable alcohol. So that's the alcohol compound in all alcoholic drinks that we drink. So wine, beer, cider, all spirits, it's all ethanol. So when people tell you that gin makes them sad or whiskey makes them angry, it's all up here. It's all exactly the same chemical.
It usually makes me giggle and fall over. In general terms, mind you, that happens with beer, cider.
But some people, if you have like an expectation of a psychological reaction to things, it quite often comes true, basically. Manifests. So if you think it's going to make you angry, quite often it does. It's all the same chemical doing the same thing to your brain, basically. So that 95% heart section is what is now in our still, but with the addition of some water. As you can imagine, heating 95% alcohol is not the most sensible thing to do.
No.
Especially in this quite contained metal tube, and you're a good 1.5 feet away from the still, and it's pretty much face up. We don't want anything blowing up this afternoon.
No.
So with the addition of water, I brought it down to 43%, which is incredibly safe to work with. There's zero chance of anything exploding this afternoon, which I'm sure will be nice and reassuring.
Definitely.
Back to the sort of the earlier distillations to get where we are. After the hearts, we move into the tails, and this is where there is little to no alcohol left inside the still. It's just water. So what's coming out of the still is much weaker. It's sort of very low in ABV, and the flavours at this point are not brilliant. Cold stew tea, boiled cabbage. Some really unpleasant tasting sort of liquid coming through. So that gets kept separately as well. Now on this distillation we're going to do this afternoon, we don't need to concern ourselves with head section. It's already been through 2 distillations, so most of that head's been removed. On the scale we're distilling at, any heads left in there would be a tiny fraction of the first drop of liquid to come through, so we don't need to worry about that. But we will do a tails cut towards the end of the process, once we've taken all the alcohol out of our still. And that's just a case of moving the collection beaker out of the way and just popping a different one underneath, just to make sure the two are kept separate. Now with that tail section, there is still a little bit of alcohol in there, but it's not going to taste very nice. You wouldn't want to drink it. So I collect it all up at the end of the session and put it in my big polypin, and then when that's full, we can redistill that at the main distillery and sort of use that alcohol for cleaning. So some of it will go in a spray bottle, and I'll do the windows or the floor. If there's any left over, it goes in my car screen wash as well.
Yeah,
Right.
good idea,
My car's always got a few interesting smells to it.
Definitely.
We don't just do a head cut, we will do a tail cut this afternoon, but the hearts is going to be what actually goes into a bottle. Because we've upgraded to the 70cl, we're going to collect 350 mils of that hearts. And that's going to be coming through at the very beginning, about 90% ABV. By the time we make that cut, we'll be about 70. So overall, our hearts should be sitting at 80% ABV. But we can double check that with the hydrometer once we get that. And then it's a case of adding some demineralised water to blend that down to something a little bit more palatable, around about 40% ABV. And the addition of that water will also give you the volume of your 70cl bottle as well. Right.
From each section?
It's sort of up to you really, but as a minimum, I'd say at least one from each category. But
One from each category.
It's sort of.
Okay.
Some people prefer more spice-forward rum, so they want to put more spices in there. Some people like it a bit sweeter or fruitier. Some people just like to pick a bunch of random ingredients that they like the sound of, or the smell of.
Yeah.
There's no real sort of right or wrong way to do this, as long as you're happy with the flavours in there, and I'm happy that it's going to work. There's sort of, you can draw inspiration from all sorts of things. If there's a particular curry you like making, the spices in there, or sort of you like fruitcakes and that sort of thing, you can sort of check all of that. It's very transferable.
I think, for a start off, salted banana.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's one of the most popular ones.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. I make them myself actually. So I've got a dehydrator down in the gym school down the hill. So I just slice them up, put a sea salt on there, and then dehydrate them. So you're welcome to have a taste if you want. They're quite moorish.
Don't drop a pencil in there. Oops, I've got 2 bits.
Oh, that's alright. There's a sort of hint of toffee there,
Right, isn't it?
and the salt really brings out a lot of sweetness in it as well. Yeah, so those are really nice ones. And they go quite nicely with the pineapple as well.
I did think that. I thought pineapple as well as that, and
And then
vanilla.
Yeah, vanilla's always a good one. If you like a good cask aged rum, there's always a bit of vanilla in there. There's a compound in oak wood called vanillin, which, funnily enough, tastes like vanilla. It's quite an easy one to extract as well. So most cask aged rums will have some sort of vanilla.
Sailor Jerry. Vanilla.
Yeah. Same as that. Oh, if you like the Jamaican, like the Appleton, dates is a really good way to do it.
I was looking at dates. Yeah.
Jamaican rums particularly are very well known for this sort of very punchy, strong stone fruit flavour.
It was actually a few years ago, and I mentioned the motorcycle thing. We went to the motorcycle club, and we held a rally at what's it called, Eastleigh Farm, which is not far from Weymouth.
Yeah.
And of an evening, we all got into taxis, and headed down to Weymouth. Some went to the Chinese, some went to the Indian. Myself and a friend of mine, Andy, we had to go down an alleyway to get to this limited restaurant, and on the way, the Rum Shack. Have you heard of it?
I've not heard of it. No. I've been to Weymouth a few times. I was there last year.
Yeah, I
actually.
don't know that
didn't
it's still there, but we went in and we were ordering different rums and so on. And eventually the barman went to get the owner, and we went to this back room for the reserved rums.
Excellent.
And we came out there about 3 o'clock in the morning. Very wobbly, very poor. Right, where were we? Salted banana.
So if, as you're making like decisions on things, just put a little mark next to, like a tick or something, on the clipboard next to the ingredient, and then that just makes it easy to see your recipe as sort of a whole, and just make sure that it's all good. If there's anything on there or not on there, just write it into one of the blank spaces. I don't think the banana's on there.
No, I don't think it is. I couldn't see.
Yeah.
Right, while we're doing that, we can...
My writing's probably not very good because I can't actually
That's
see
all
that well. So just put
Right, so we continue our choice. We are going for grains of paradise. That is a grain of paradise.
It might take 10 seconds or so to kick in.
it's quite woody.
Yeah.
Right, so we've got vanilla, pineapple, salted banana, now grains of paradise.
I'm just trying to find it. Oh, there.
Oh yeah, it's got a bit of
Oh yeah, now I've got the
Yeah,
kit.
it takes a little while, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, so what are we thinking citrus-wise?
citrus.
So you've got the option of dried or fresh peels.
Oh,
There's
right, we
always
haven't done citrus yet, have we?
No.
Yeah, so it's
First
only
place.
peels because that's where all the oils are that we want to extract during the distillation. So dried peels will be a little bit softer, they're a bit sweeter, more subtle. Fresh peels are going to be much more vibrant and zesty. You get a bit more of an aroma from them as well. Really notice it when you're pouring the water in to blend it down. You get hit by
I think we
this
should go
cloud
for
of
grapefruit,
Yeah.
just for fun.
Sour, dry, and
Yeah.
seedy.
So that's the dried grapefruit, because that's like a ripe grapefruit. So I've got fresh red grapefruit, ruby red, which is a bit sweeter, a bit lighter.
Yeah, I tend not to go for the sweet grapefruit. I tend to go for
maybe
the
dry
other
one,
end.
yeah.
So grapefruit peel, yeah.
Yeah.
Grapefruit peel, okay. Spices, we've got grains of paradise. Should we leave that at 1?
And
Because
vanilla.
it's quite,
Got vanilla,
oh yeah, okay,
vanilla
yeah.
as well in the spices.
Alright.
Botanical coconut.
I was still looking at spices actually.
Coconut's an interesting one. It won't really taste of anything when you distill it. It doesn't really come through as a flavour, but it's great for adding sort of texture and smoothness to the rum. It will give a sort of the oily quality of the coconut comes through quite nicely, and it will give just a nice sort of smoothness and
I
mouthfeel.
think we should go smoky woody complex depth with a lapsang souchong.
Do you want to try some?
Or
Have a smell of it at least.
I have
I haven't got a kettle up here, so I won't
in
make you a cup of tea with it.
No.
But have a smell. It's like a bonfire almost.
Oh, it is. Cool,
That
yeah,
woodiness,
yeah.
you know, the smoke is really strong as it is.
Oh yeah, that's good.
When you distill it,
Yeah, we'll
the
have that
smoke is a little bit sort of reduced. It's still quite prominent, but it's not as much as this. And it does add
And that
maturity.
really is like a
depth.
fire bonfire,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it?
Actually, I remember as a child as well, not only drinking rhubarb spirit, but I remember dandelion and burdock. So I think we should go for a spot of burdock.
Yeah. I've got dandelions in the gin still as well.
Have you?
If you wanted to do
Oh,
a
right.
dandelion and burdock rum.
That's
It might not
idea.
come out quite like
Mm.
yeah.
It's right there.
That's right. Okay. I can't. You've got glasses on. I
Oh, do you want the
haven't.
glasses?
No, it's fine.
Right, right.
I find it eventually because I sort of just make out the words. If I go back this way, that way, a bit.
Ah, here we go. On to woods now.
Yeah. The
And
woods-
I also remember the USA as well, when we're talking about soft drinks, sarsaparilla.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Sarsaparilla's a really good one.
Yeah.
It goes so well in a rum because it's that medicinal sort of bitter
Yes.
kind of woodiness.
Yeah.
It's really
So
nice.
have some of that. Sarsaparilla.
Yeah.
The old cowboy films.
That's
the
right.
guys always used to drink sarsaparilla.
They did, didn't they? Mm. And what about a spot of Morby bark? I've never tried that. I have no idea what it is. Heavy,
That's
woody and bitter.
Jamaican bark.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're quite often, you see people sort of selling homemade drink on the street. And Marby drink is sort of like a bitter, sort of refreshing soft drink. It's made with this bar.
Oh gosh. I may have even had it. Mind you,
Probably have.
The maker was 1989.
So is that what you want in as well then?
Yeah, Morby bark.
I can see that. Right,
How many have we selected?
9.
9.
Don't feel like you have to add an extra one.
You don't have to add more. You can
10 to
say
12
you
is
rather.
a guideline to give you an idea what to aim for. But no, I'm not going to force you to add an extra.
No, I don't know what that is.
Well, actually, I think we could go for a cacao, slightly bitter, earthy, and nutty. So they're all following the same sort of theme, aren't they, more or less?
You have to tell me where that is though. 'Cause I'm struggling with it.
Botanicals.
Oh, the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
Right. I
Right.
think.
Are we happy with those?
Yes.
I think we've
Happy
got
with
makings of a good rum there.
Yeah, I think
Right.
so.
Let's pause for a minute and have a bit of rum punch, and then we can start again. There's all sorts in there. I'll put a list in the description of what we put in because I can't remember. But meanwhile, this is going into the base rum. In she goes. That's it. There we go. Right, and now we're ready for the magic.
Let's switch on the plate. Yeah, right, we're underway.
Okay.
And how long do we wait for it to all
It's going to
distill?
be between 5 and 10 minutes before any liquid starts coming through. Once it starts coming through, we're looking at about 15-20 minutes.
Oh.
Right, we'll just wait for it to start distilling and then start again. Now the temperature's rising slowly. We've got to get to how much, Chris? 65 before it starts to distill.
It'll be 78 degrees inside the still, but it won't necessarily show us that on that thermometer.
Getting there. Back in a minute. Here we go. We have lift off. We have the first dribbles of our special rum coming through. Let's give it a few moments and come back. Getting there slowly but surely. Won't be too long now. We'll just wait for it to dribble out and then we'll come back again. Nice so. Yeah, we're getting there certainly. Not far off 350. And it tastes very good as it is.
It's there, isn't it?
Tiny bit more.
I would say that's there.
To test the strength of what we have produced.
Right, so we've got your hydrometer in here, which is going to measure the density of our liquid, and pop that in there as well. And then what we need to do, we're going to fill the cylinder to about here, so about an inch or so from the top.
Don't waste any.
It does fill up quite quickly.
It does.
A little bit more. There we go. Whoop. Right, so what the hydrometer does is measure the density. With ethanol being a lot less dense than water, when we take the funnel up, the hydrometer will float, but it won't float very much. You've got a weighted air pocket at the base of the funnel. You see the black sort of weight at the bottom. So these are sort of calibrated for spirits. So we look at the surface level of the liquid, and we look at the number on the hydrometer at the surface level, and that is our ABV. So if you take the funnel out, you'll see it just pop up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So have a look at the liquid level there. What's the number on the hydrometer?
Take the glasses off me.
Oh, where we are.
It's looking like just over 80, about 81.
Oh yes, so up there. Yeah. Yes, just over 81. Yeah.
So that's what that means is your alcohol is currently at just over 80% ABV. So 80% or so of the liquid in there is pure alcohol, and then you've got water, and sort of 1% is the compounds from your ingredients. So that's exactly where it should be at the moment. So that can go back into the beaker it came from.
Okay. Take this out first.
Yeah, you can take it out if you want. Yeah.
Don't waste any.
So I'll make sure it's all dripping back in.
Flip the bowl.
Yeah. Put back in there. Put back in there.
Right, demineralised water time.
So this is tap water that's been through a filtration process that removes mineral salts and chemicals from the water. So it is incredibly neutral. It's not going to contribute any taste or flavour to the rum. It's not going to change the texture at all. All it's going to do is reduce the overall concentration of alcohol, the ABV. So we're going to use this water to top up your beaker now to the 700 line.
Right, okay.
You can pop that there if you want, it's a bit easier. You can see the texture of the liquid as we're adding the water, that sort of oily quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So we've got two different densities of liquids joining each other, so you don't they don't initially sort of blend. Just a little, want to see we're sort of just below the line. I'm going to be just sort of level with it. Touch more, I would say.
More.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right. Yeah. It's nice and clear. There we go.
Yeah.
So now we'll just let that settle for a sec. You can lick the spoon if you want.
Cheeky. Supposed to be my present.
Yeah.
Good.
Once you're happy that it's nice and settled, we'll do the same again with the hydrometer. Yeah. The hydrometer is going to float a lot more.
Now, testing again.
Is that about it?
Let's see what we've got now.
Take the funnel up. See how much more above
crumbs,
the liquid now.
Yeah.
So the number obviously at the surface level is going to be much lower. What have we got
So
now?
we're looking 45?
So we're still a little bit higher, I think. Yeah, 47 at the moment. So we can put a little bit more water in there, I would say. Get it down to 45. So pour this back into there first.
And then put some more water in it.
Yeah, just a little bit more water. If we've got too much for the bottle, there's a little bit for you to sample before you head off. It's just a little bit like what we did when we were getting to the line. One more. There we
We've
go.
diluted too much.
So let's do another quick sort of stir with the spoon.
I get to lick the spoon this time.
Okay.
So there's an interesting phenomenon that it's not so sort of doesn't really affect us too much at the scale, but when you're blending spirits at a large scale, there's something called the contraction, where because ethanol molecules are much smaller than water molecules, they tend to sit between the water molecules.
All right.
So adding 100 litres of water to 100 litres of alcohol doesn't necessarily give you 200 litres overall. But we don't need to worry about that too much.
I understand chemistry. I did level chemistry.
Oh, well, there we go. Yeah.
That was a while back though.
Yeah, just a bit.
Oi!
Is that enough?
Yeah, perfect. So if you were to take the funnel out again,
Good.
there we go. Let's see what we've got now. That's sitting at 45 now, I would say. Let me just let it sit for a sec. Yeah, just let that settle, it might rise up a little bit. If not, we can always pop a bit more water in.
Right, we're now ready for the bottling.
You might get a bit of cloudiness in there as it's sort of going in from all the air bubbles churning around. You should see it start to clear from the base upwards, and then you should very shortly have a nice clear liquid. And you go up to the start of the neck. There we are.
Yep.
A little dribble in there, you can try.
You can try. There's a little dribble in there that you can try.
I will, just hold on a minute. Hold on. Testing the final solution. That doesn't sound very good, does it? Final solution?
Yeah.
The final product is what I meant. Cheers! Well, I've certainly never tasted anything like that before. That is certainly unique. Shall I enjoy that when I get home? Here we go. So we know where the back of the bottle is, where the dimple is. And now, Casapre, finest spiced rum. There we go. Perfect. Haven't got enough nails to get the corner. Oops.
Oh, too much rum.
I wish. I don't think there is such a thing. I'm sure it's central. There we go. Central to the notch. Excellent. Done.
Cool.
What we're doing next now is we're going from this raw rum and we're going to a dark rum now. Secret way of doing it.
It's got some distiller's caramel, or it's
Distiller's caramel.
E150A colouring if you like.
E150A, okay.
Yeah. So if you pop the stopper in, turn it over a few times to get that blended, and then we can go darker. We'll just add more until you're sort of happy with the darkness. So we've got a bit of a
Until it's
gold.
lamb's coloured.
Until it's lamb's coloured. Might be a while on that one.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Does it add anything to the flavour or is it?
No flavour to it at all.
Okay, maybe a touch more.
Let's put another one in. Getting into sort of like a deep amber, I would say now.
Now we're looking at, say, Sailor Jerry sort of colour, aren't we?
Yeah. So it's maybe even a bit darker than Sailor.
Yeah. I think that'll do very well.
Shall we do it a little bit more?
Yeah, that'll be fine, I think.
Excellent. Lovely.
And there we have it. Our homemade dark rum. Well, not